Hi y'all, doing a book review today. So today I'm going to talk about On Writing by Stephen King. I got this at a used bookstore. So this was recommended by another one of my BookTube friends, and this is actually the first Stephen King I've ever read. So I've not read any of his novels. I'm not a big horror fan. There are a couple of his books I've got on my TBR that I've been told aren't horror, but I'm still scared. So I've been avoiding that, but I figured this one was safe. So the first thing you need to realize about this book is that it's only about half as long as you think it is, because the first 137 pages are actually an autobiography of sorts. He goes through and writes about a lot of small snippets of memories and things. He says it's so that you can get a better idea of how a writer is made, as it were. But it's really just sort of an autobiographical thing.
All right, I get it. You're evil. Do we have to chat about it all day?
It's nicely written. It actually feels really conversational, so it was enjoyable in that way, but you don't actually get to anything on the writing bits until page 138. So that's only half the book right there, which is a plus. The actual bits on writing that he talks about more of his philosophy on what a writer should have in their toolbox as far as, vocabularies and where they should put their time. He has some very specific ideas and standards about how writers should spend their time that I found odd.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. You want something, go get it. Period.
But I suppose he's earned the right to a little bit of arrogance. Stephen King is very much a pantser and not a plotter, so this is not a man who outlines the stories. This is a man who imagines up interesting characters, puts them in some messed up situations, and sees what happens. Certainly a valid way of writing. It's not mine. I'm definitely an outliner, but it was interesting to see, his internal process of how that comes about. His basic advice on things like grammar and stuff, of course you can't argue with that. It's grammar, and it's, getting words cut down to make your prose a little more fluid. He has very particular opinions on how much time writers should spend writing, what writers should be doing in their spare time, and particularly about television. This is not a man who is a fan of television and doesn't think writers should watch TV.
Hugs, not drugs. No, sorry, reverse that one. Drugs, not hugs.
How did you get that horse?
What horse?
And I would wonder if he would have the same opinion on things like theater. He talks about how television feeds you a story instead of you discovering a story, and it trains your brain to, only want to be entertained instead of using your imaginations. So I wonder if he would have the same objection to other sorts of media, including music. Yes, I would agree that most of TV is trash, but I would also agree that most books are trash too. So there's really nothing sacred about any particular media. I enjoy studying shows, movies and television that really hit the mark on storytelling, and I've learned a lot in that way, from character development and how to handle and how not to handle character development, and particularly metaphor. There are some amazing shows that do long-term metaphors that are amazing. And so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I can see his argument for a pantser in that way. I like structure, I like outlining books, and I like knowing what I'm going to write next. So I like studying the structure as a whole before I start getting to the minutia of actually typing. So I can see his argument on that. Now I will say, personally, I didn't get a lot out of this as far as advice on writing that I felt was useful. Although I will say it's exceptionally well written. It really does feel like you're sitting down and having a conversation with the man, so that in itself is really good. I ended up giving the book 5 stars. I definitely recommend it to someone who wanted to read more about writing. But this was a 5-star read for me. If nothing else than just to say I've now read a Stephen King. And it didn't give me nightmares, so hooray for that. So talk to me in the comments. What are some books on writing that you've read that you thought was really helpful and that you really enjoyed or that expanded your knowledge about writing? Talk to me in the comments. I like to get some other suggestions. This was a good read. This was ultimately a 5-star, but I'd like to see what else is out there and what other people's opinions are, particularly if you're more of an outliner like I am. So I'd love to hear from you. So until then, bye-bye. But anyway, so it's weird when writers write about writing to non-writers. It's weird when writers write about writing to other writers. It's weird when writers write about writing. Is that weird? It just seems weird to me. I don't know. It seems like, I don't know. It seems just weird. Weird. I mean, you're writing about something that you should be doing while you're doing this. Yeah, that's it.